Today is day 16, and honestly, it's getting tiring. I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna get to the 100 days, but I've just been thinking about life, honestly. Just can't stop thinking about everything and anything. I'm overthinking quite a lot. The main thing I just can't stop thinking about is that we're always alone. You're always on your own. No matter how serious you think your relationships are, or how serious you think your friendships are, or however many friends you've got, or how close you are to your family, you're always gonna be back in your own mind. You can't just speak out loud 24/7. On top of that, depending on how confident you are, you're not going to be able to speak to every person that you are with. And if you are really close to people, that's great, because you can open up to them a bit more and realize that what you're feeling isn't any different to what they're feeling, maybe, but that almost makes it worse. It's almost just torture, you know. No matter what you say or how you say it, you're never going to really put out exactly what's going on in your head. That's the worst part. You can speak to a million different people, but I don't necessarily think you're going to feel any less alone. You can get along with people so well, and you can know someone your whole life up until a certain moment, and then something happens and then they're just gone. I don't even mean that they die. I just mean, like, you can be friends with someone for 10 years and you think that this is how amazing it is, and you're confident with them, you can talk to them about literally anything, you're on the same page all the time, and one thing happens and they're just gone, they're disappeared, and you never see them again. And that's the point when you realize that you are just always alone. Even if you have an amazing friend like that, or an amazing person in your family like that, like when you go to your own room, or when you walk outside, when you're on your own, you're back in your own head. And when you're with people and talking to people, I don't know, it's almost like distraction from reality. The reality is that you're in your own head. No one else can ever be in your own head. No matter what you do, you can try and write down the exact thing that's going on in your head, but the way other people perceive it, it's never ever going to be the same. And there's no way of proving that it's the same, because the way you see their perception is going to be your perception of them. So it's just an unlimited circle that just never stops. Trying to get people to understand, and then people saying they understand, or like, yeah, I get you, but they never actually will, and no one ever will. I'm not saying that you're special because you think certain things, and people are never going to get you, never going to understand. That's not what I'm saying. I mean it in a way like people literally aren't going to be able to understand, and that's fine, because you're not meant to, but you just stay trapped, and it is just like this horrible cycle. You can't really get out of it. And then I don't even know why you'd really want to get someone to understand. Like, what happens when you get someone to understand it anyway? If someone could access your brain and feel exactly how you feel, and they technically get you, literally understand you, then what? Do you want sympathy or something? Do you want them to be like, because everyone's feeling the exact same way, you know? Everyone's thinking the same things you are thinking, just in their own way, in their own perceived perception, in their own mind, and their own way that their mind makes things up, you know? Being alive is just kind of insane. It's just impossible to fathom, you know, what anyone is doing here. It's also, there's just so many theories that you just can't even put your finger on one in particular. How do you even know that other people around you are even, like, here, really, you know? Obviously you see them, and obviously you can speak to them, and obviously you can touch them, and they're real, but the consciousness of them is like interpreted in your own way of how you see consciousness. So you're never going to ever truly know if somebody is there consciously or not, and you're never ever going to be able to even fathom what they're even doing here, what they're even thinking, like. And then there's obviously the argument where it's like, well, obviously, you know, that's obvious, right? It's impossible to read someone's mind. I mean, why are you even bothering thinking about that? Because you're just constantly thinking about this stuff and there is no answer. It just becomes kind of torturous to be inside your own head. You never gain anything from it. I mean, you just make yourself more confused, and like, you question everything, and I think you should question everything around you. But then, because there's never like a pure answer. And what I mean by pure answer, I mean something that is just 100% factual. Because it's based off other people's opinions, other people's theories, and then they try to back it up with more opinions and more theories, and it just becomes accepted by a majority of people as the truth. But it doesn't mean it is the truth. It means there's more evidence to back it up than other things, but that just means people have put their minds together to think in a certain direction. But if they thought in this direction, that could be the truth, or if they thought in that direction, that could be the truth. What that means really is that if you're constantly overthinking, because there's no actual right or wrong answer, there can be something to make you at ease. You can be like, well, it's okay, just enjoy life how it comes, you know. But why? I mean, why? And it's a paradox, really. It might seem like it makes sense some days, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it, I actually understand it. But then another day comes around, and I get a dose of reality. What am I actually doing? Why do I need to do these things when it doesn't mean anything, when it doesn't matter? Like, no one's going to be here for me. I'm always going to be the one on my own. Even if you've got like 100 really, really close friends, they're never inside your head. They're never going to know you. They'll know how you put yourself out to other people. They'll know the mask that you wear. I mean, they'll know your personality. They won't know these deep-rooted things that you try to make sense of in your head. Those are almost subliminal. That's what makes you think. I mean, you might think you're talking about really deep situations, but a lot of them are just political or social issues, not necessarily this deep dive into the mind of a person. It's quite hard to get down to that level yourself, let alone other people understand the exact meaning that you're trying to put across. It's just this long road that you're just constantly walking down. Occasionally you see something that's interesting and you feel happy for a bit, and you're almost distracted because you see these flashing lights or whatever. Then you're like, okay, I gotta keep walking, and then you stop and you keep walking again, and you're back to having this overwhelming, overbearing feeling that it's just impossible to explain. It's something that everyone must feel on their own level, at their own little frequency or whatever. They just can't put across to other people, and you can try to explain it, and that person will interpret it in their way, but it won't be the way that you're trying to tell it to people. It's just never going to be quite there, and I think that's the worst part about it all, is that you're never actually going to get there. I just don't know how it's even possible to actually get to that 100% understanding, to really put across this exact thing that's happening in your brain, in your mind, in your conscience, in your psyche, whatever. It is just technically impossible, right? Then that would only be one tiny detail as well. How many millions of thoughts do you just have? And it's constantly coming in and leaving, coming in and leaving. You just can't make sense of anything. It's like trying to grab these things that are just dangling slightly too high above you, but you just can never actually grasp them fully. And really, just even thinking about this is just a bit pointless, because you just get demotivated to just even do anything. It's not just like, what's the point? Because obviously the point is just to, whilst you're here on Earth, whilst you're living and being alive, the whole point is just to obviously try to be as happy as possible and try to get through it. I mean, I don't even think you have to enjoy it. I just think you have to get through it. Maybe the whole point is to not get through it, you know. Maybe getting through it isn't even worth your time. I think you have to go left, and if you just keep going down, there's like a path, then you turn left, and then you keep following this road round like a big motorway. It's in that sort of direction.
Thank you very
So
much.
try to find the motorway,
Okay,
if you can.
thank you very much.
Alright. It's not even as simple as what is the point, because I know what the point is. I don't know if being alive is actually either a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes it just gets to that point where you're just like, is this meant to be a fun time? Is this meant to be good, or is it meant to be bad? And we're just trying to make it seem better. Or is it the other way around? Are we just overcomplicating things? And it's really just as simple as just stay alive, and that's it. There might really be nothing else to it. Nothing else happens. There's no bigger picture. There's no like outside things that we're meant to know. It is plain and simple as just be alive, stay alive, die. That's it, you know. You just really can never actually be 100% sure how you're meant to know. You can do as much research as you want down a certain path. That's obviously going to be biased towards a certain point of research. There's no 100% truth. That's basically where it ends. I mean, you can think about this stuff all day long and you're never really going to come to a conclusion. I could tell myself right now, oh well, the whole point of, like, obviously no one's ever going to get to understand you, but that's the whole point. They're not meant to understand you. You're meant to be able to talk to people and get to know people and be social with people, so you can try and understand other people's points of view. And that could be right. But if I phrased that in better words, if I wrote a whole entire paper or a whole study on it, that could technically be accepted as like the way forward for happiness. But I've just made that up, and it might have an element of actual truth to it, but realistically, whatever works for you, right? Whatever helps you get by day to day. The way people control money is just ridiculous. To stay alive, you're forced to basically sell part of your soul. I mean, if you want money to survive, just to get another day onto your body clock, just to live to 80 and then what? Just to be surrounded by family who slowly die, be surrounded by friends who suddenly just leave, just to be on your own. But living day to day, stressing all this stress and making yourself feel horrible and confused and lost, and you're working all these hours just to be on your own. Like, really? Is that really worth it? I mean, you can be in your own mind whenever you want. You can look in a mirror and what you see, you just don't understand because that's the physical version. But the mind, which wherever it exists, like, that's what understands you. And you're really working 40 hours a week and enduring all this pain just to stay in your own mind. That's it. This is day 16. And yeah, we've got 84 left. And then what? Nothing will have changed. This isn't me in a negative mood. This is just me literally just thinking out loud, and it's what I've been talking about. If I wasn't saying it out loud, I'd just be thinking it in my head. And it's the same for anyone. If anyone's watching this, if anyone sees this, it's the same for you. I mean, if you're not listening to this, you're thinking it. And if you're not speaking it, you're thinking it. If you're not talking about it to someone else, you're still thinking it. And when you go home at night, when you're on your own, when you're walking, when you've got headphones in, when you're just like being in the moment, being alive, you're just thinking about this, and there's just no way out of it. And there are things you can do to kind of elevate the way of thinking to make it make sense, but at the end of the day, it's just always going to be there. It's always this constant thing that just like, hey, by the way, I'm still here, you know, I'm still like, this still doesn't make any sense, I'm still stuck in my own mind. But I mean, there's no place I'd rather be, right? I guess. That's it.